Once you've connected your bad boy system and verified that it is connected, the next step is to open up the management application and select the hotspot that you wish to connect with. To do this, open up a browser. Once the browser opens, disregard any errors that you may see on the screen because you're not yet connected to the internet. Go to the address bar and type in badboy.xtreme and add a trailing slash so that the browser knows this is an address, not a web search term. What you'll get next is a login page. Even though you may not be yet connected to the internet, the hotspot access point management utility will appear when you enter badboy.xtreme into the address bar. This is because the utility does not exist out on the web, but rather is resident within the Xtreme itself, and you're calling it from there. Also, if your system includes the optional Unleashed, it will be shown on the screen. To demonstrate, when you first load up the application, it will actually scan to look for any connected Unleasheds. The first time that the application is run, the username badboy will be displayed, and the default password will be badboy as well, and that can be shown. Also, a country must be selected. Wi-Fi regulations vary from country to country. This includes power settings, encryption and modulation schemes. So selecting the proper country will get you the best performance. Once that's done, agree and log in, and you should be taken to the Link Setup tab. Let's explore the Xtreme's management application. There are three tabs: Link Setup, Status, and System. On the Link Setup tab, we'll find hotspots listed, which the Xtreme has found, and the ability to change country and adjust the power level for those countries which have a higher power level. On the Status tab, we'll find information with regard to the connected hotspot, and on the System tab, we'll find opportunities to change settings on the Xtreme. These include firmware, when the new releases are available to keep you up to date, changing the default bad boy access password to something that you prefer, and adding a hint, port forwarding, keys management, which we'll talk about in a little bit more, and of course device maintenance, rebooting, and resetting. Now let's look a little more in detail at the Link Setup tab. The list of hotspots being shown are in the order of most strongest signal to weakest signal, and a lock symbol beside some of them will indicate that they require additional authentication. Those without the lock symbol are open networks that don't require any passwords. When the device is first started, it's in automatic mode and will look for any hotspot with no security, and in this case it has found one already and connected to it. The list of hotspots can be refreshed at any time by clicking the Refresh List button. Typically you would need to do this as hotspots tend to announce themselves approximately once every 2 minutes, and from the first scan there may be some that are missed that will be picked up on the next scan. So usually the list begins to grow as time goes by. The Auto Connect button will find the strongest unsecured hotspot and automatically connect with it. It takes a few moments for it to do it, and then it'll switch you over to the Status tab and show you what the condition is. Staying with the Link Setup tab for a moment, we can select a different hotspot simply by pointing to it in the list, clicking it, and entering its password, and then clicking Apply. Again, once the configuration has been applied, the screen will automatically change to the status and display the connection status of the current hotspot. One other important feature on the Link Setup tab is the ability to control the power. If you are very close to a hotspot, putting too much power into it can overdrive the hotspot, and you may find that better performance is achieved by reducing the power. Probably something in the middle of the range would be fine as a start out, but generally use as little power as is necessary in order not to disrupt the airwaves for others. As was already mentioned, it is always important to select the correct country that you're in. For example, if you happen to be traveling and visiting, let's say the United Kingdom, the country will be applied, United Kingdom will become selected. The big benefit of doing this is that all of the features and capabilities for that country will then be enabled. For example, many countries in Europe use 13 channels as compared to the 11 channels that are used in North America. Also of noted is that the powered slider bar is no longer visible, and that's because this particular country operates at a maximum power which is less than North American countries. The total effective isotropic radiated power, or EIRP, in this case is 20 dB. If we change back to the United States, you can see that the maximum power allowed is 36 dBm. Now let's just change over to the status tab, and this displays information with regard to the hotspot that we're currently connected to. You can see we're operating on channel 5. We're connected about 65 megabits per second. It shows you the IP address for the hotspot, shows you the internal IP address that we're using, and shows you the security type as well as MAC addresses. At the bottom there is a monitor area which displays, in this case right now, the Wi-Fi throughput that we're experiencing in a graph. It can also display the hotspot detailed connection information, any hotspot IP info. In this case, the IP address that was assigned to us was 192.168.1.121, and it shows you the gateway and the primary DNS. And if there are any clients that were connected to the system, they will be displayed here. Right now we don't have any. Now let's have a closer look at the System tab. In the Device Maintenance section we have two buttons. One is Reboot, which will cause the device to reboot itself and restart. This does not change any settings. It will come back to the last selected hotspot. The other button is the Reset button. When it gets pressed, all of the settings within the Xtreme will be reset to factory default. This includes any login credentials. They'll be restored back to Bad Boy as the user ID and Bad Boy as the password. The keys file will be erased. Messages to this effect in red are displayed at the top, warning you prior to doing the reset. Keys management allows you to save all of the different passwords that have been entered for Wi-Fi hotspots that you've visited. These are all remembered within the Xtreme and can be saved off onto your hard disk and then restored back in afterwards. You might need to do this if you're going to do a hard reset on the device. A hard reset will erase everything that's in the Xtreme and you would like to save these. Or perhaps you're looking at replacing your Xtreme, and in this case you can transfer the information, the keys, from one Xtreme to yet another. The administrative account are the credentials that are used to log into the management application. These can be changed to something more to your preference. First, enter a new username. We use Aquaholic, and enter the current password, which was by default Bad Boy, and then select your new one. We'll use Water Drinker. We'll repeat this again for verification, and let's enter a hint. If you have an Unleashed attached, changing the credentials for the Xtreme will also cause the same changes to appear in the Unleashed. Now we'll apply. To verify, we'll log out, and you'll see Aquaholic is now here. The hint says likes water, and we'll put the water drinker. And hit agree and log in. And that's all there is to that. Lastly, we'd also like to point out that on each page there is a help link which will pop open a page that explains more about the various settings and capabilities for each of these tabs. If there are any questions about how something works, just simply click the help button and immediate help will pop up for you.